At the foot of Red Mountain stands the mighty bastion of Ald'ruhn, the great citadel and seat of one of Morrowind's great houses, the militaristic and warrior-minded Great House Redoran, where behind great bulwarks and defensive walls they keep a watchful eye upon the evils and machinations within the great ghost fence. But, oh, who am I kidding? I mean, great citadel, great bulwarks and defensive walls, a warrior-minded great house? Like, come on, who are we kidding here? In vanilla Morrowind, Ald'ruhn is anything but a citadel. It's protected only by these flimsy, incomplete, and ruined walls that don't even cover the entire city. Like, good heavens! The soft-bellied merchants of Balmora have stronger walls than the so-called warrior house of Ald'ruhn. Just look how flimsy and thin these walls are, like bloody paper mache. You could probably pierce it with a letter opener. While in-game dialogue and lore all boast of Great House Redoran as this warrior culture, their capital city doesn't exactly look the part, now does it? It's small, poorly fortified, open to attack from any number of directions, and with only a handful of guard towers to boot. Oh, and to top it all off, the city planning here is so atrocious that they have a second side gate that is, for some inexplicable reason, blocked by the Fighters Guild. I want to highlight this real quick because look at the ground textures. Look at the ground textures. It's like someone built this brick road here and built this gate here, and then later down the line we're like, oh no, we forgot to put in the Fighters Guild. Oh dear, oh my, what are we going to do? Oh, I know. Better just lob that down right here in front of this gate. It is just such an odd design. I can't even begin to fathom what they were thinking. Of course, you know where this is going, because this brings me to our mod of the day today, which, as you might imagine, is both a city overhaul and town expansion for this dreary little capital city of Great House Redoran. For today, we're showcasing Ald'ruhn City of Ash by SuffersParadise, a mod that aims not just to change the visual appearance of Ald'ruhn, to make it more appropriate for the warrior culture of the Redoran, but also one that aims to overhaul just very nearly every interior in Ald'ruhn, with plenty of new interiors and buildings besides, all utilising the far more impressive array of new Redoran architecture provided by Tamriel data. Now, before we delve in here, it is worth noting that there are, and have been, many mods that have tried to improve this Ashlands city over the years. From the more straightforward improvements, like the Doors Ald'ruhn by Archimaestro Antares and ChakaZG, which, simply properly walls off the city with actual gates, to more, shall we say, eccentric additions, like the famed Ald'ruhn expansion by Crankrilla. What do you suppose this fellow is thinking about? Probably thinking about how this city could probably use some more statues, right? That's probably what he's thinking about. But in more recent years, modders have tended towards more lore-friendly expansions and overhauls. From the relatively lightweight mods like Izzy Cities Ald'ruhn by Izzy, and Cozy Ald'ruhn by Micah, to the bigger expansions like Ald'ruhn X by Pensivin, Ald'ruhn Seat of Power by Random Pal, Epic Ald'ruhn by Mike and Ike, and Ald'ruhn by the Inwas and Mushrooms team. And now, finally, Ald'ruhn City of Ash by SuffersParadise, which actually, in many ways, is a bit of a compilation, taking elements from smaller overhauls from a dozen mods and bringing them all together to fashion a truly remarkable overhaul and expansion of this once desolate city. City of Ash makes Ald'ruhn into a truly imposing city, more befitting the militaristic nature of Great House Redoran. No longer is it a slapdash collection of huts protected by measly half-worn-away walls. Now it is a proper fortress settlement, with strong, sturdy bulwarks to withstand attack, large fortified walls that surround the city, and are built into the surrounding rocky cliffs. New garrisons and watchtowers provide ample quarters for the city's guards, which also have just the side benefit of adding a wee bit more verticality to the city skyline. A stark outline against the rising backdrop of Red Mountain. This also just pairs really well with the nearby beacon of St. Realms, which you might just see poking out there in the background. You'll also note that Ald'ruhn is now just significantly larger, and indeed the city gates have actually been moved out some distance, providing new space within the city's confines, where a number of new structures can now be found, including a new warehouse, new homes, a bazaar, and a number of barracks for the city's warbands. With the city's new layout, Ald'ruhn is just now more clearly composed of a variety of districts, concentric rings and neighborhoods that lead up to Under-Skar, with the guilds, lower-class dwellings, taverns, and warehouses in the lower two rings. And, in the final ring, just the more upper-class homes and general shops and services, with the temple just set aside in its, in its own little compound, courtesy of the original Ald'ruhn Temple expansion mod by Zeph, which has obviously, been merged in here. Beyond the new buildings and reorganized city layout, City of Ash also replaces a number of structures of newer assets from Tamriel data, providing a little more architectural variety to the cityscape. Perhaps most notable here is the inclusion of the Ald'ruhn Inn Overhaul by Random Powell, which changes the exterior of the Ald'ruhn Inn. And there's also a new exterior for Morrowind Manor, which has also just been moved to the other side of the city. Many of the new buildings here also make use of Tamriel data assets, making the city just all the more visually distinct and unique. And speaking of visually distinct, let's take a look at some of these new interiors, starting with the Great Bazaar. A large open-air market just atmospherically lit and decorated, with numerous merchant stalls providing an assortment of new services. The interior is divided into an upper and lower level, with a number of merchants just split between them. And given its relative proximity to the Silkstrider port, it provides a natural trading post for a variety of goods. Other new interiors include a scenic and detailed warehouse, just inside the city gates, where provisions can, be stored. There's also just a rather massive new garrison complex in the north end of the city, a formidable post capable of housing a large number of the city's guard complement. And there's also a variety of new interiors for the city's warbands, independent militaristic sub-factions that headquarter in Ald'ruhn. And you can also find some new labor halls for tanners, miners, glassblowers, and just, other common trade occupations. In addition to new interiors, the City of Ash also overhauls just very nearly every vanilla interior in Ald'ruhn. Oftentimes, just minor edits to add Tamriel data and ODE data furnishings, but some of them are just a bit more significant, such as the Rat in the Pot, which now has a new, unique interior shell to give it just a more visually distinct style. The Mages Guild and Fighters Guild have also rather noticeably been overhauled, the latter with new Fighters Guild banners, practice dummies, and, in general, an improved layout, albeit lacking some of the original interior's verticality. So, going to have to deduct some points for that. There's no such thing as too much verticality, even if most of it just ends up being, wasted, empty underground space. That's still verticality, and I'll take it, thank you very much. Like the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild now has more banners, and the hall itself has a slight expansion, with new chambers to provide housing for guild mages, a larger imperial shrine, a dedicated space for the alchemy vendor, some new furnishings, and a new study for Edwina off the upper level mezzanine. Many of these changes are actually based on Indify's Ald'ruhn Mages Guild expansion, and Whitney's Edwina study, two mods that have just been, partially merged in here. And, speaking of other merged mods, this includes both the interior overhauls for Ald'ruhn Inn, originally by Random Pal and Dim Nuisance, giving the inn a unique look to match the new unique exterior, and the Other Council Club by Vidya Qualm, which overhauls the Ald'ruhn Council Club, providing just new furnishings and atmospheric touches. Before we move on, it is worth highlighting that City of Ash has also made changes to the interior of Morrowind Manor, giving it a new interior shell to match its new exterior, and also the interior of the Tribunal Temple, shrinking it down a bit into a more manageable size that's not just a copy and paste of every other Tribunal Temple, with a few NPCs just moved to some of the new temple interiors. But for that out of the way, there is still just one major feature of this mod that we haven't yet covered, and that's Under-Skar. And City of Ash overhauls not just Under-Skar itself, but also the many manors and ancillary interiors that can be found in Under-Skar. Which, devil knows, that is quite the undertaking. There's a lot of stuff jam-packed into Under-Skar as is. It's basically the original TARDIS. This includes an overhaul of the main area of Under-Skar, which is now just noticeably more detailed, and marginally easier to navigate. Repositioning some of the manor entrances to make them a bit easier to get to. Potentially. It's still a lot of wooden platforms though, so it's still probably going to be a bit of a hassle. Beyond the main entry of Under-Skar, the Redoran Council Chambers have seen a major facelift, from an enlarged council entry hall with new banners and furnishings, to the rest of the council chambers, which have noticeably been adapted from the mod Redoran Council Overhaul by Vidya Qualm, Lucifer, and Leowin. This means the council hall is just considerably more detailed and decorated, compared to the relatively bare version from vanilla Morrowind, with plenty of new furnishings, just using up the significant amount of empty space that was here before, including a new raised platform for council meetings, private lounges and meeting nooks, and shrines dedicated to the house's fallen warriors. Now, each of the interiors connected to the Redoran Council Hall has been overhauled to some degree, usually just with some new terminal data and old data furnishings, like the trader here. But there's also just some entirely new interiors, like a treasury and an armory. Likewise, most of the manors in Under-Skar have been overhauled, with some of them just reduced down a bit in size, so they're not quite the labyrinthian nightmare that they were before. But again, they all have some new furnishings just for the sake of consistency. Now, we're not going to do every single interior, we're not going to do an interior by interior breakdown because, devil knows, that would take forever. There's so many interiors in Ald'ruhn, especially when you get into Under-Skar. But this should, give you a pretty good idea of the visual changes that City of Ash makes. But, well, I think that is just pretty much everything, That took a bit longer than expected, but I think that pretty much covers all the major features of City of Ash. It's a pretty comprehensive overhaul and expansion for Ald'ruhn. And one that I would say is rather underrated as of this video. It only has, I think 20 endorsements on the Nexus. And with a beautiful Cities of Morrowind patch, there's really just no reason not to, give it a try. It is definitely worth taking a look at for yourself. But, that's just our mod of the day. So, as always, I've been your host, Golf Guy. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, happy modding, and I'll see you all next time.